All right, I'm going to mute everyone and let Shirley do the opening. Let me see if the stream is working. Wait, did I switch OBS to CIDER? Yeah, I did. So whose stream is it going on, CIDER's or Soundbites? All right, here we are. So the YouTube stream is open, and I'm getting an echo. I'm hearing both the live stream and the YouTube stream. This will be interesting. And I'm gonna. All right, I'm gonna put Shirley up there. If you want to, gallery view lets you look at everyone. Speaker view shows you just the speaker. All right, so we got you up and running. Trying to see why am I getting. Oh, because I have the dashboard open. I'm going to close the dashboard, and maybe that will close the echo. Bear with us, everyone who's watching. We're still working out how to feed Zoom into YouTube. Hi. I'll have to change mine to space. Those those of us that are used to doing these video chats are used to muting and unmuting as we talk. You see them doing it on the TV are confused by how to do things like that. Yeah, is YouTube echoing or is it just in my headset? That's good. And for those of you watching on YouTube, you can type a chat in the live chat, and we can answer back. All right. Well, you want to start the welcoming spiel, Shirley? Everybody knows who we are, right? Yeah, Lyle stopped in the store today and bought his new phone, and I um, suggested he stop by. He's still coming in. Alrighty, I'm gonna go back to me, and I gotta switch. So doing all the switching myself is tricky. Um, oh, I was gonna make a second Zoom window smaller. So here we got Zoom. Make the Zoom window a little smaller, and bring up my Safari window so we can talk about the stuff happening. Live editing. This is the wonderful thing about live broadcast is it's really crazy. All right, so tonight we're going to be talking a little bit about the uh, virtual meeting options, and that's one reason I asked Nick to come in because he has a link on his website on different software available, um, and the some of the interesting stuff that has come out in the news in the last couple of months since we've had our meeting, and then we'll see if we can get to some more settings on the iPad. So let's jump right into some of the new products. Actually, let's start with the iPhone that Lyle just picked up today. So the iPhone SE second generation was announced, and that does basically it's an iPhone 11 guts into an iPhone 8 screen size. So it's the smaller screen size that people have liked. It's not quite as small as the original SE. This is the 4.7 inch, so it's not the 4 inch of the original SE. But here you can see sort of the size difference between them. So for someone that wants a smaller phone than the 11, but still wants the performance of a modern phone, we have that with the very high resolution. We've got True Tone, the super wide color gamut, the oleophobic coating. Actually, that was an interesting thing someone had posted about cleaning your phone because phones have a lot of germs on them. Excuse me, and several of the morning shows were talking about different ways to clean your phone, and they um, Apple issued its own press release that said that it's okay to use like Clorox wipes or Lysol wipes. And what happens, people were afraid, is that the um, oleophobic coating would get rubbed off if you use those wipes. And Apple put out their press release saying it's okay. And so Joanna Stern on Good Morning America, she wiped a phone 1,000 times. I think it was 1,039, something like that. Every day for 3 years, so to simulate cleaning your phone, and it didn't damage it. So that oleophobic coating isn't damaged by the cleaning. The SE does have the A13 chip, so it's the really fast processor with a 12 megapixel wide camera. So the iPhone 11 has the better cameras. It has the ultra wide camera on the iPhone 11 Pro with the three camera output. But sort of the really neatest thing about the SE, and we'll click on that little buy button here, is it's $399. And so that $399 gives you a current generation phone with just about the same guts as the $799 iPhone 11, and so that's a neat upgrade for people that still want a new phone but don't need to pay everything that the biggest phones have. Um, Also, oops, we'll skip to that in a minute. The iPad Pro was revised, and this picture shows the iPad Pro Magic Keyboard. And so it's a new iPad Pro 11-inch and 12.9-inch have both come out. Faster processors, better screens, the ProMotion refresh, so the screens refresh very quickly. Liquid Retina, so your screen is much better. Um, and one of the neat things it's got a freaking laser beam on its head. It has two cameras, like the iPhone 11, And so we have the standard camera, the wide camera, and the ultra wide camera. Then it's got the flash, and then it also has the a LiDAR sensor, a laser rangefinder that is good for up to 5 meters. And if we go down here, what that does is it bounces a light signal out and then times how long it takes to get back, so it can do distance measurements, sometimes called the time of flight sensor. And what that does is it allows it to do basically 3D mapping of your environment. And so the first sort of big use for that is going to be the AR workings. So if any of you have tried doing any of the AR stuff now, where you know, like have the IKEA app and want to put a piece of furniture in your virtual room, you have to wave your phone around a little bit so that it can register where everything is. The LiDAR is going to cut down on how long that takes, and basically you can do that instantly. Um, and so it generates this kind of interesting three-dimensional frame, which is right now going to work really good for augmented reality uses. And it's going to be interesting to see how developers are going to be using that type of system. So right now, one of the games that Apple has on their App Store is called Hot Lava, and it uses AR to put a lava field in your own house. So you have to jump and climb around and avoid the lava as you're moving through obstacles in your actual house. So that's kind of neat. 4K video. The ultra wide camera gives you some really nice ultra wide options. Let's see, and it uses the new A12Z Bionic chip, and it's got an 8 graphic core processor. And they almost don't talk about the CPU anymore because everything is done with graphics, but the CPU, I believe, is also 8 cores. And so for a lot of people, their the new iPad is faster than most computers, especially the entry level models, which is kind of neat. And there's some really professional programs. Procreate is one of the big design programs. It's very similar to what Adobe Photoshop was in the early days, and Adobe has since released a Photoshop Touch for the iPad. But Procreate really has a big advantage in the uh, iPad arena. Let's just jump to the prices now. Um, Prices stayed the same, which is okay. What did change is we now have a little more storage for the same price. So instead of 64 gigs at the low end, it's 128 gigs at the low end, and you can get a 1 terabyte drive. And if you start, let's just actually we'll play and max something out. So let's go for the 12.9 inch. Let's do the space gray. Put the terabyte drive in it. Oh, why not? Let's get cellular while we're putting everything in. So now we're at $1,600. So we're actually higher than a lot of laptops as well. So it can be a laptop replacement in functionality and quite frequently in price as well. And so we're seeing, especially in the creative world, people are really doing a lot with their iPads, being able to have that touch interface instead of having to use the traditional keyboard. It works with the Apple Pencil 2, which has a little magnetic attachment at the top. And we'll go down here and find the picture of the Magic Keyboard. It should be down here farther. Everything cool. All this stuff is on the Apple website if you want to read more in detail. The Magic Keyboard it's a really interesting accessory. It's very similar to what the old, let's go to accessories, reminds me of the old iMac G4 because it has the, there, a Magic Keyboard. It has, it kind of, your screen kind of floats. I'll go to this picture. The screen magnetically attaches to the back of the keyboard and kind of floats there like the iMac G4 did. And then when you close the screen, everything sort of collapses down on itself. And you may notice there's a trackpad in the keyboard. So it's a light up keyboard. It's illuminated like like the desktop or the laptop keyboards, and it has a trackpad built in. And the new iOS 13.4 has full support for the um, keyboard, mouse, and trackpad. So in iOS earlier versions of 13, there was a mouse support under accessibility, which basically let you use a mouse as an accessibility device. So for people that had mobility impairments, they could use a mouse instead of touching the screen. But now mouse and keyboard is a first level. Everything is the same on the same tier as the other input devices. And I just noticed I'm a little off center, so I'm going to do that. And I am going to bring my Safari window a little higher. There we are. That'll work. Um, so the new iPad 12.9 and 11 inch, which has also then, well, the annoying part about the Magic Keyboard is it's 350 for the 12 inch and 300 for the 11 inch, so they're a little expensive. There are third-party companies also now making keyboards. Logitech is the big one for their typical. Let's see, if you want just a keyboard, it's a lot less than the Magic Keyboard that has the stand on it too. I don't know if Apple has third-party keyboards listed on their website. They have their own keyboard. No, no third parties. So we hope to be getting some of the third-party keyboards into our shop as well. Because of the new models that have come out, we have yesterday models. So if you want to save some money to get the previous generation iPad, we have those available for you at our store. The other big news was in laptops. New 13-inch models have come out. They have been upgraded with faster processors. And one really nice thing they've done is they've doubled the standard storage. So the 1299 MacBook Pro is now 256 storage. The 1499 is 512. Excuse me, the same thing in the MacBook Air model, which has been updated to the 10th generation processor. And the standard storage is now 256. And this 1299 MacBook Air is sort of the killer model. It's a quad core processor, and it has 8 gigs of RAM and a 512 storage for 1299. That is probably going to be a very popular configuration to give you that extra storage. Quad processor, so it's the first time we've seen a quad processor in a MacBook Air line. And of course, you can upgrade the processor, so that's a Quad i5. We always like to play with how much things will cost. So if we go into the customization, we can go up to a Quad i7, which is a little more. We can go to 16 gigs of RAM. We can go to 2 terabytes of storage, and we'd cross the $2,000 mark. So this is a really powerful computer with that Quad i7 with huge storage and huge RAM. This would make a really good mobile editing station. And being the MacBook Air at what is it, 2.3 pounds? So that was on the previous screen. It's still really, really light. If you do need a little more power, notice these are 1.2 gigahertz processors. A little more power is the MacBook Pro. What's a little strange is the cheaper models, the 1299 and 1499 models, are still using the older processor, the 8th generation processor, but you're getting that quad core model. When you move up to the higher model, we have a 2 gigahertz 10th core, 16 RAM standard now, and 512 storage standard. And that is the 1799. Oops. And then for 1999, 16 RAM and a terabyte storage. And so that's a quad processor in a 13-inch configuration. So people that want a fast computer but still want a smaller, lighter size is that's going to be a really good option. And then if you compare that, you move up to the 16-inch model. We're now at a 6-core processor. 512 storage, 16 RAM, and then you can go to an 8-core i9 processor. So the 16-inch models are still more powerful and faster, but being able to get that quad processor model in a 13-inch for $17.99 is pretty good in the Mac world. All right, and yep, yep. We have played with one for a few minutes. Um, it's they say it's the Magic Keyboard, so it's similar to the iMac's Magic Keyboard, which they used as the pattern for the new 2020 laptops as well. So it should be better with crumbs than previous generation models, but you probably don't want to get your crumbs into it. We've been recommending keyboard cover guards for most of the laptops for years now, just because people do tend to eat and spill into their keyboards. But we'll have to wait to see for someone that makes one for the iPad keyboard because they're a little bit different sizes now. But it is the same Magic Keyboard mechanism. So the keys are um, um, what's the word I want? They're solid and straight. One of the problems with the older keyboards is that when you press on the edge of a key, the key doesn't go down straight. So you have to hit the key almost in the dead center for it to work the way you like. Alrighty. Anyone else have any other questions on any of the new products? We had a question. Yep, Ken got into the Zoom meeting. I think Ken is here and gone. Yep. Yeah, it's not the exact butterfly keyboard that the 2015 through 2018s had. So the 2019 and 2020s have gone to the Magic keyboard, which is it's an enhanced scissor mechanism that works a little better. It's probably a lot lighter than the 17-inch was. That was one of the big things. A lot of people loved the 17-inch for the size, but then hated it for the weight. Yeah, I did get a kick out of Apple had a commercial with Vern Troyer, who you might remember as Mini Me in the Austin Power movies, and Yao, what's his name? Yao Bing? No, that's not right. The basketball player. So Vern is 4 foot something, and Yao was 7 foot something, and so they gave Yao the 12-inch PowerBook, and they gave Vern the 17-inch PowerBook, just to contrast their physical sizes. It was kind of unique. In fact, there was one on an airplane that Yao would, while he's sitting in the seat, could reach up into the overhead bin and pull the computer out of the overhead bin. Let me see if I can find it. There is a website. Um, that's and Vern Troyer. Let's see if I can find. There was a website that. Yeah, there he is. Yao Ming. Uh, um, Website that tries to keep track of all the commercials. So we'll play this and see if Apple takes us down. So you can see Yao and here. Maybe if I talk over top of the video, then Apple won't take it down either. Yeah, so here he comes. Reaches up. And And they had life-size cutouts available. Excuse me, available for the stores to buy. We had to buy them. Apple didn't provide them to use for the advertising. And then a few months later, they said, "Go ahead and destroy them now because the ad is over." And they only paid for their likenesses for a little while. So we're glad we didn't buy them because we wouldn't have wanted to destroy them. And you may have recognized Jeff Goldblum as the narrator there. He was the narrator for a while for Apple commercials. Yep. Yeah, that's a good question. So the question for the YouTube, I don't think the questions are going into YouTube. Um, the how many cellular iPads do we sell versus Wi-Fi only? Not many. In fact, we usually don't even stock the cellular iPads um, because so many people have their cell phones. You can use the cell phone as a hotspot to get on the internet with your iPad, so you don't necessarily need cellular in the iPad. The cellular iPads are $130 more, excuse me, $130 more cost than the Wi-Fi only, and you have to pay for a cellular plan on the iPad. Most of the carriers have a $10 a month add-on package, so $10 a month isn't much. But if you're not using it very often, that's just a waste of money. $10 a month doesn't sound like much, but $120 a year is. The one place we do see a lot of cellulars being sold is in the field service industry, um, where you do want to have that large screen space, so bigger use than a phone. And even sometimes people who travel a lot, it's nice using your phone as a GPS map for traveling directions, but having the GPS in the iPad um, can help give you that bigger screen. And from what we've seen, it does work a little better to have the GPS directly in the iPad than it is to go through Wi-Fi on your phone, because the Wi-Fi hotspots um, don't necessarily give you the most accurate location data. Where the GPS, the cellular iPads also have the GPS chip for that as well. But you're right, spending $130 more for the cellular version isn't necessarily that big an option. See, 8 to 950. So yeah, it's $150 more now. They raised the price. Although they do have a little option here that I can't do until I pick what colors I want. Pick the color, pick the size. Now I can say, do I need Wi-Fi or cellular? And so the Wi-Fi plus cellular model does have a little bit of advantage now and then. But for most people, it's much easier to use the hotspot in your phone if you need internet on your iPad when there's no Wi-Fi available. And because Wi-Fi is so ubiquitous anyway, a lot of people um, never use the cellular, and they're always on Wi-Fi. Alrighty, so we got that. We got that. Nick, are you back? Let me unmute you. Let me get back to this other window. And would you like to go into your spiel now? Alrighty, let me pin you. There we are. We're going to pin you to the big video. and we can see a great reflection of your computer in your glasses. That's one reason I took mine off. Yeah.
stuff through here. And Mastermind Lounge takes care of the payment system, and it hides everybody's ID. One of the problems we had, you get somebody like Andre Reed or Steve Christie. They certainly don't want to be giving everybody their email addresses or a way to contact them just off the streets. So we hide all of that, and you do it all through Mastermind, which is what these folks like. And Mastermind takes care of billing and any disputes and things like that. So they prefer that, and that's what Mastermind Lounge does. But go back to that, and we'll talk about the less um, commercial stuff, the stuff that average people would be using on a daily basis. So the next one down, I've listed these all alphabetically. Any meeting is a lot of these are going to be less popular. Really, the big popular ones are FaceTime, Duo, Zoom, like that. But any meeting is free for up to 4 people, and then up to 6 people is $18 a month. I have pros and cons, as you can see. Um, uh, there's some nice things about any meeting, because you can encrypt them, you can have passwords, and et cetera, et cetera. You can record meetings, and those recordings can be password protected. The cons are, if you're a presenter who wants to share desktop screens, there is a download which doesn't work on every platform. Apple FaceTime, you're all really familiar with. It has end-to-end encryption. It's ridiculously easy to use. You can have up to 32 people on it. Problem is, it only works on Apple hardware. So if you wanted to have a face to face with someone who's on a Windows machine or an Android phone or whatever, you cannot use FaceTime to do that. But we'll see. You can use Duo to do that. But that's the only thing. And of course, people may get your phone number or Apple ID through FaceTime. Blue Jeans is really, again, a more commercial thing. It's designed to be used by companies more than individuals. It is very easy to use. A lot of people run webinars through Blue Jeans, and it's pretty nice. The problem is it still uses Flash. Why anybody uses Flash in the 21st century, I do not know, but they do. Google Duo is essentially Google's answer to FaceTime. It is free. Currently up to 12 people. They're moving it up to 32 people soon. Is this the latest copy of my website? How interesting. I thought I had changed that. All right. Anyway, Google Duo will yeah, there we go. Google Duo is 12 people now, but it will be 32 shortly. They keep saying mid-May, so it's any day now. Just as easy to use as FaceTime, free, shockingly from Google. It works on pretty much every phone, Apple phones, as well as Android phones, every tablet, every web browser. The big thing about it is they have a couple of new codecs for video. One is, I think it's called A1, A12. I forget what it is, but it's designed to give exceptional video quality even in low bandwidth situations, which of course you would get on a phone with 32 people on it. Excellent low light mode. So if you find people in their homes, uh, in fact, I beg your pardon. I should have turned on my other light so that I get some light here. I'm an actor. I know to stand in my light. Um, so you get excellent low light mode just in case you're in a situation where you have somebody sitting in their living room without a good light on them. And of course, it's optimized for low bandwidth networks. I like the knock knock feature, which means that you see a live preview of who's there, not just a name, but the actual video. So it can't be spoofed before the recipient picks it up. It also allows audio only calls. I'm not sure what the point of an audio only video call is on a telephone, but okay. People can leave video messages. It is end to end encrypted like free FaceTime. And it has all those, or it will in mid May, have all those Snapchat like masks and effects and things, as well as a doodle mode so you can draw on the screen. But somebody's going to know your Gmail address or phone number, similarly to FaceTime. Google Meet, on the other hand, uh, oh, right. You can go back up to Facebook if you like. It would be really, really quick. Facebook, it's free, but don't use it because it's Facebook. The pros are there are no pros. It's Facebook. And the cons, it's Facebook. We all know that Facebook is stealing all your information as much as it can get. Zuckerberg has famously said privacy is dead. They are stealing all your information. They're still selling it to Cambridge Analytics as well as other companies. Do not use Facebook for anything you want anybody else to know. Okay, that's enough for Facebook. Right. So you can go up now from Google Duo to the next one, which is Google Hangouts, Google Meet now, as they call it. This actually costs money. It's designed specifically for the Google Groups thing, that where you have like your company is on G Suite, it's called. But right now it's free during the pandemic. Um, what's nice is it's free for the highest tier, so you can have up to 250 people on a meeting, and it also supports up to 100,000 live stream viewers. That is not a typo. 100,000 live stream viewers. Essentially, it's what Steve is doing here using OBS. It happens directly through Google Meet. The live stream is essentially YouTube. It is fully encrypted, which is great. One of the things that is excellent about it is it has real time artificial intelligence generated closed captioning. If you've watched YouTube videos with the closed captioning on, you've seen it in action. It's not great if people mumble or have a very thick accent, but otherwise it works really well. You can collaborate on docs and sheets and slides. You can do stuff on Drive, and it integrates with Calendar, of course. Everything you would expect, right? Uh, from Google integration, you're in the Google ecosystem, and that's the way that works. You can also share your entire desktop or one Chrome tab or a window on your desktop. It's also available directly from a browser, so you can be on pretty much any platform on the planet. um, and like this, like Zoom, defaults to the current speaker showing up in the main window, but you can switch to a grid view and control much of that. And again, normally you must be a G Suite. At least one person in the meeting, must be a G Suite customer. The next one down would be GoToMeeting. Many people know GoToMeeting. It's used for a lot of things. It isn't tremendously inexpensive, but it works very nicely. You do get a 14-day free trial, which people use a lot. The big pro is that it's secure. There are a lot of cons. It doesn't really work well on every operating system. If you're still using Internet Explorer, it'll crash all the time and may crash other browsers. And of course, it relies heavily on Java. So if you have a system that isn't running Java, some tablets or whatever, you're going to have a problem. There is a program called House Party. It is completely free. You can lock rooms. It works on everything. The problem is they do some fairly intrusive data collection. This thing comes out of, I want to say, Korea. I looked that up and now I've forgotten it. And it's used a lot over there. But as you may know, it often has some intrusive data collection practices. Jitsi is also free. You don't even need an account. What a lot of people use Jitsi for is they use it on their own servers. So Jitsi is essentially open source um, uh, video chat software, and so you can get your own server if you like. You can also embed a Jitsi room on your website, which a lot of people do, whether you host it yourself or use their host. It's not end-to-end encrypted, and honestly, depending on, you have to have a pretty beefy server. If you don't, video and audio will degrade as more participants join. So it's used often for small meetings, and works very well for that. Of course, there's Microsoft Teams. A lot of you have just tuned out because I said Microsoft. Different different levels are available, and a per user cost basis. It does integrate with email and calendars and file storage, and but if you're not all in it as a Microsoft house, this may not be the product for you. A lot of companies certainly can do it. A lot of universities do it mainly because Microsoft gives them everything for free. So you're seeing a lot of that there. The problem is it's a Microsoft product, so it's not as freewheeling as some others. Not feels a little stiff, a little formal. Certainly, some of the um, features are not as obvious as they might otherwise be, and there are some small bugs. For example, if you have both a mobile device and a desktop, it's a crapshoot as to where the call actually goes when it comes in. Then, of course, there's Skype, which is free for up to 50 people and it supports file sending, but people will get your Microsoft ID. That's how you make contact with people. So that's a problem. Then there's WebEx, which is free for up to 100 people per meeting. You can certainly have a lot of participants and unlimited meeting lengths, and it is encrypted. But there's an Outlook plugin for the Mac that may not work. There and other video issues on various platforms, and it is possible to join a video chat without encryption. And then that takes us to Whereby, which is free for one administrator in one room with 12 users, and then up from there it costs. It is password protected. It works through the browser. It's pretty easy to use. Video and audio again degrade as more participants join. You get more than say 10 people, and you start getting all kinds of issues. There are certainly other connection issues that have arisen over time. And it auto arranges video windows, and that can get both annoying and kind of odd. There is no dial in, which many others offer. And really, it's best on Chrome. And of course, it's vulnerable to Zoom bombing, which of course segues directly into Zoom, which you may have had some small experience with since we're on it right now. Up to 100 people are free. There is a 40-minute time limit on that, which has been waived for the pandemic. If you're paying for a version, then there is no time limit. You get up to 100 or 300 or 1,000 people. There are a lot of pros to it. These folks have gone in hard on ease of use, simplicity of setup, and features. You can screen share and chat and polls and have backgrounds like we're all seeing here, and you can change them on the fly. So if I wanted to go in and change my background here, I can pretty easily then uh, suddenly it's me and Betty. Um, and so there's that sort of stuff that goes on. Yeah, Flash is. I'm sorry, I didn't have this up. Um, Flash does die in January of 2021, but by die it means they're not going to put it out anymore. It doesn't mean it actually goes away. Um, and so if you have a business or an enterprise, you can create your own custom URLs, which makes it easy to say, zoom.com/apple cider. Done. Um, the cons, the security is terrible. There are some new defaults that have made the security somewhat better, but not a lot. And there is the fact that far too often traffic is mistakenly routed through servers in China. So I would suggest you never ever trust it. Email addresses of at least a few thousand people have been leaked. That's actually a much higher number now. They are being investigated by multiple agencies in multiple countries for shady practices. And just go onto Google and look for Zoom chats. You'll see many thousands of them have ended up online for anybody to view. And you can only hope that you weren't discussing something business related, particularly a private business, or perhaps having a little personal time with someone. Um, and of course, it's vulnerable to a thing called Zoom bombing, which whereby is also vulnerable too. And Zoom bombing means that someone can, just by knowing a few little bits of information, break into a Zoom chat and, in fact, take it over. And people have been known to take it over and show porn films or Nazi propaganda or child pornography. And so Zoom may not, if you can lock down Zoom pretty well, but you have to do that. Even the new defaults don't do it as well as it could be done. So if you're going to use Zoom, which, as I said, free for up to 100 people, uh, really easy to use, really easy to set up, yada yada yada. Just be aware that you need to spend some time looking at all the defaults and making good choices before you use the product. Skype allows up to 50. Maybe. Yeah. Well, it's the word, right? We're going to have a Zoom meeting. That just flows now. It's like saying I'm going to Google something. We were Zooming yesterday.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Um, I am part of a group that's been using Zoom in the free version. And when we first started doing it a few weeks back, in the middle of the session, a box had come up saying that the restriction on time had been lifted. And the last couple of weeks when we've been using it, that has not happened. We've had to like quit and restart the meeting to eat it. And I was curious as to what other time limits were on the other apps that you talked about.
Well, each of them tells what time limit it may or may not have. So you can go back and look through that. asknick.com/videochat.php. Hold on. I just put it in the Zoom chat, and now I'm going to put it in the YouTube chat. So there it all is.
Let me do this. There we are. Now my audio is going into YouTube. Is it also going into Zoom? I can do one or the other, but not both, apparently. Yeah. So so I can yeah. I can't I can't aggregate Zoom and YouTube on my one microphone for some reason. Yeah, but there's a delay between them, so that's tricky. So when I have to change a mic setting at my end from when I'm talking versus when a speaker is talking.
Up, but like I said, it's a pain in the neck because everybody's changing their stuff every day now in order to desperately attempt to get more users. So if you want, that page is always going to be there. I've been mostly using Duo because my daughter has an iPhone and I have an Android phone. So if we're going to video chat, we're going to do it over Duo. Um, and that's been just completely. We've had 4 people, I think was the most we had on it, but it was just rock solid for everybody. Um, Zoom, as you can see, pretty darn good. Um, pretty darn good. Um, I've used obviously I've used Mastermind Lounge, but I've also used Blue Jeans. And like I said, it still uses Flash, and I hate it. Um, and I've used Google Meet, uh, which is pretty amazing. 250. I'm not used obviously more than about a dozen, but that went well. And I've used Jitsi, which worked well, but I only had 2 people on it. Obviously, everybody knows how Skype works, and pretty much everybody obviously knows how Zoom works these days. Any other questions about that stuff? I have looked at freeconferencecall.com. I'll add that to the list. Yeah, like I said, Lord knows I can't get all of them. But yeah, you can. That's just another one, and there are a number of good ones. Any other questions?
One comment that I'll add, this is Lyle. Through the tax stuff I do this year, we transitioned to all Chromebooks, and AARP Tax Aid has basically forbidden and they blocked Zoom on use on any of those Chromebooks for all the reasons you just said, Nick. And basically, because we do have the Google accounts, that means we can use Google Meetings, and that's what everything we do is. But they had serious concerns with Zoom, and it's blocked on all the Chromebooks.
And I understand that many companies have. The United States government has, in general. The good thing about Google Meet is that it is end-to-end encrypted. There are 2 kinds of encryption. There's encryption from you to the server, where it's decrypted, goes to the other side of the server in plain, and then is re-encrypted down to the other person. That's what Zoom uses. And so when it hits that server in China, it's decrypted video. So they can see it, hear it, do anything they want with it. With Google, it's end to end encrypted. You encrypted at your end, it's still encrypted at the other end with Google Meet. And so that's why it's more secure. And that's clearly why they're using it. Excuse me a second. Nope, nothing. Okay. Um, Oh, I should tell you what this thing is, because if we're going to talk about video conferencing, I have something called a web around. It's a round thing that fits, that attaches to my chair, and it's just a green screen. In fact, I'll show you. It's just a green screen on the back of my chair. And it lets me do whatever I want. We could, that could be, oh, wait a minute, hold on. No, I don't have it here. This is the one my daughter prefers. I have one. I'm talking to her. It's Arkham Asylum. She says, this is where I belong.
Does it keep your cats out?
No, nothing keeps my cats out. In fact, I have to worry about them clawing it.
I mean, you don't have an empty shoebox on your desk so they can sit in it?
The cat, here is the truth. The cat wants to sit on the desk between the television and the keyboard. And if something is there, even a box she can sleep in, she will knock it off the table. That is her spot. There is darn well not going to be anything in that spot. That is her spot. Yeah.
I just saw on somebody else's website or something where they put, this woman was complaining about the cats constantly jumping on her desk. So her daughter said, did you put a box on it? And then she sent a picture showing 2 cats sitting in 2 shoeboxes on her desk.
Yep. My daughter has put, her desk is in front of her window. So she's put a little table behind it with the cat's bed right there. Sun comes right in on that bed. The cat sleeps there all day long and is happier than a pig in mud. Mine wants to be right here, where every once in a while she can nudge my hand to get a pet while I'm typing.
They are demanding.
They are that. But yeah, this I'll try to remember to add free conference call to my list. That, like I said, there's a million of these. And any other questions?
Of interest, Steve, I noticed that the videos that come through the YouTube are reversed.
I did
My
notice
left
that.
becomes right. Betty Boop was on the opposite side of Nick.
Right.
All the names are backwards.
Yeah, a lot of software will switch the video, because when people raise their left hand or their right hand, it's opposite. Because the video is looking at you. So when you raise your left hand, it shows on the other side at the other end. So the person looking at you sees it differently. Some of the soft
And that's normally on, which means when I raise my left hand, I see a mirror of that for me. But if I turn that off, you should now see, and I'll put Betty Boop back up, you should see Betty on the proper side, both in Zoom and in YouTube. So any other questions?
Is there any video conferencing that allows the audio to be in sync with you and the other person? Like to play music?
That's very, very, very hard. And let me preface this by saying that, as I said earlier, I'm working with a company called Mastermind Lounge, and that's what we do. And in researching all of this, one of the issues becomes latency of everybody's internet access.
Yeah.
So I'm on green light. I'm at a gigabit, and everything is super fast. And Steve is on, and Steve and Shirley are on green light, so we're pretty much in sync. But if you're on, aren't you guys on? No, whatever. Okay, so you're on Spectrum. So there may be a lag between Spectrum and Greenlight. And if somebody else is on Frontier, there may be a lag between those three. And that's nothing over which you or anybody else has any control. So um, uh, when you see YouTube videos of people in their homes all playing music together, somebody recorded all those tracks separately.
Yeah.
A little video magic to make them all appear at once. And that's unfortunate, but that's just the way the world works.
Yeah, somebody pointed that out during that Together at Home concert with the Rolling Stones. Mick Jagger was singing, and the other three guys were miming along with their instruments. The drummer had his sticks, and he was making all of the drum movements. He didn't have any drums, but you could still hear the drum playing. So that they were, what they think was happening is Mick might have been singing, but they were piping in the audio from that one screen because nothing would sync. Yeah. I did see an interesting video with Tommy Shaw from Styx and Kevin Cronin from REO Speedwagon. They're two big Chicago bands, and they were sort of they called themselves arch friends. They were trying to do a podcast together or a YouTube video together, and they couldn't play. And so what they did was Tommy would play one verse, and then Kevin would play the next verse, and so they'd go back and forth on the same song, which eventually worked out. But that even a half a second delay is enough to be really really annoying.
Apply. That's just the way that works. Okay, any other questions? Nothing in YouTube. Nothing in Zoom. All right, thank you all. Thank you very much. If you to the video chat thing, Nick at asknick.com, and I'll do that. I'll certainly at some point add the free conference call stuff too.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you all. I'll leave you now and get on to supper. All right.
I'll pipe my audio back into YouTube. I thought I had all this audio straightened out, making aggregate devices, so everything would have have the right audio. Let's see, what were we going to do next? We were going to. Do we want maybe a show of hands? Do we want to show off how Skype and FaceTime work, or do everybody already know how to do that? So if you do want to have a more private conversation, especially since we're all Mac users or iPhone or iPad, FaceTime is encrypted from you to the other end, and so that's probably the safest thing to do for more encryption and more secure chatting. One of the tricks, yeah, Charlie, you want to see that? Okay, so let's see. I'm going to hide the Zoom window and bring the Skype window forward. All right, so the question was about the security options in Zoom, and they have changed a couple of default options to make it a little safer. I'm going to see if I can bring up some of those options here, and mine my system here, but I don't know if I can bring them up into the video. Basically, when you create a Zoom meeting, there are a couple of options you want to turn on. First one is password, so that participants have to type in the password to get into the meeting. And then when you send the meeting invitation somewhere, or especially if you put the meeting invitation publicly, like I did with this on the CIDER homepage, you want to make sure you send the password privately or in a different channel. So if the link is on a website, put the password in an email. So if you put the password public, then anyone can get into your meeting because they have the password. Or even try to do two separate emails. Now, when I sent out the mass emailing, I did put the password in the email, and so theoretically, someone could have intercepted that email and jump into the meeting. It's not. I don't know. Not likely isn't quite the right word. It's not inconceivable that it could happen, but the chances are pretty low that it will, because in general, email is not intercepted. Most mail servers try to send it directly from one end to the other end. The other option, let me see if I can bring that up in my list. No, I can't bring it up in the list. So another option when you're setting up a Zoom meeting. So basically, one person hosts the meeting and will create it on their computer. You want to turn on a waiting room, so people can't just jump into the meeting. The waiting room is there so the host can allow that person into the meeting, so that people can't just jump in the middle of your meeting. The host has to allow them. As you get more and more participants, though, that can be a burden on the host. So you want to make sure you've got at least some host that can uh, handle that. Maybe a co-host duty that can handle letting the people in. Also, you want to turn on the options to mute the mic and mute the camera, so that you as the host can turn on mics and cameras if you want to let them on. And as the host, I can also mute everyone and unmute everyone at the hosting end. So usually those things can help. In the early days of Zoom, there was no password because that makes it easier to get into. So novice people that were just jumping into a meeting for the first time, um, they didn't need to have to worry about passwords. Just click a link and it opens. And that's how a lot of the Zoom bombing got in. We had a problem in the Fairport School District where somebody Zoom bombed a school classroom, and the teacher was pretty good about it. They just kicked the person out and tried to say it was just spam and continue on. But enough parents complained that they had to open an investigation, and it kind of is just spam. It's some, we used to call them griefers, just somebody trying to cause grief. Um, and hopefully by putting on the passwords, putting on the waiting room, it will make it less likely for someone to break into the Zoom meeting. Alrighty, so I need to. Who wants to volunteer to be my Skype recipient? Who? Um, so basically, Skype was a standalone company for a long time, and so people would make a Skype username. You could also attach Skype to a phone number so that you could make telephone calls with it. Computer to computer was always free, and computer to phone or phone to computer was their pay service. So a lot of people used the computer to computer because it was free. When Microsoft bought them, they also added the Microsoft account option. So if you don't have a Microsoft account or you never had an early Skype account, then you need to create a Microsoft account using an email address. And so, like most services, it will use your email address to let you um, um, create calls on that service. And typical to security issues, being, your email address is generally fairly public, and that is sort of a sort of a side effect of sort of how the internet works. Like your mailing address is basically public and easy to look up. Your email address can be as well. Now I do see Charlie, you've got Skype open. I can try doing a video call with you.
I don't know why I have Skype open, but if you say so, I'm clicking on the icon down in the dock now.
Yep, I started a call with you, so now your device should be ringing. Oh, and then it went offline. Oh, no answer. Maybe you didn't hit it soon enough. So basically, you got to bring this.
No, just a quick technical note about that. The Sophos icon does not work for Skype.
Okay, that's another S.
Try this one.
All right, so I'm going to do another call. So basically, your device will ring, and then
it says I am signed in.
Right, and then you bring Skype, the Skype app forward and answer the call.
And I'm not hearing I heard a little boop boop thing or something.
Yeah, that's the Skype call. And I'm getting an interesting echo here, so I did something wrong on my.
I've also got. I should mute my. I would mute my Zoom mic, except that's the only way I can talk with you for the moment. I'll do it when we get connected.
Yeah, I got to mute my speakers.
Profile. There's a missed call.
Yeah, that was a missed call from me. Let me try doing another call. Actually, I'm going to bring turn off Zoom and bring on Skype. There should be an answer icon. Yeah, you hit decline.
I hit a green telephone thing.
That should have done it. Let me try again.
Oh, my mic is shut off in system preferences. Hang on. Can you hear me?
I can hear you through Zoom, but the Skype call is getting declined.
Yeah, all right, hang on. Forget system. I want to go system preferences to, oh crap, is it privacy and security and that stuff?
What are you trying to do?
Turn on, I'm trying to let Skype use the mic.
Yeah, that's in system preferences and security and privacy.
Skype will not have access until I quit, so I'm quitting Skype and I'll have to go back into it. All right, sorry about this, folks. Back into Skype. This is what you're doing.
Am I back? All right. My AirPods just died. Should have had them both then. Then I could use one for a couple hours and the second one for a couple hours. So now I'm back. I'm out to my ambient mic. That's one of the biggest things we've seen on the people trying to do video calls from home is they don't have a very good mic, and most of them are using the ambient mic in their computer. A lot of them are using the mic in their telephone headset that they've got. So that's kind of interesting. All right, my output device, my input device, all my ins and all my outs. You gotta have all your ins and outs right to get things to work. So now I have to go to my wired headset, which is plugged into something else. Hang on just a minute. So I can hear what's going on right now. I can't hear anybody else. All right. So, Charlie, did you get your thing, your Zoom working, you think? All right, I can't hear you yet, so my audio is still not working, right? Audio output, have to add built-in. All right, maybe that'll work. Yep, there we are. Yeah, did you get Skype's permission set? So should I try calling you again? Yep. Now we can see you. Yep. So now we've got the two of us here, and we can, if I click the little plus button up here, I can add a new person. And so I could add a new person to the call, and that's how you can get up to the 50 people in your call. And over on the left here, there's a gallery mode, so I can see, oh no, I'm sorry, that's a different gallery. That lets you drop images and video between your people. So in Zoom, the gallery mode shows you all the participants, and rather than just the speaker. So I hate when people use different words for the same thing. And yeah, so we're floating around, and then it keeps track of all of your previous calls that we did. So we must have done a Skype call with Nick, February 2019, for 2 hours and 10 minutes. So that was Skype. So I'm going to turn off the Skype window and bring on the FaceTime window. And let's see, where's my FaceTime button? There's FaceTime. And let me call Matt. Let me see. What's I don't think I have his, yeah, we'll do a FaceTime video with Matthew and see if he'll answer. So basically the same way, you type in either their Apple ID or their phone number, and that adds you to the call. And once you're in a call, there's a button to add another person. You know, poor Matt doesn't want to join us. Correct, either Skype app or FaceTime app, whatever app you're using, you need to have that device. I'm pretty sure Google Hangouts can work with the Google website. Let's see, let me try Shirley. So we can ring Shirley. Now we can get Shirley into 2 separate video chats. That's probably a little too much for you, isn't it? All right, so I'm gonna turn that off and turn off FaceTime. Go back to Zoom. Alrighty. So as I mentioned in Zoom, there's a button in the upper corner. You can go to Gallery View, which shows everyone in a smaller window. If you have more people than fit in your window, I would have thought that the thumbnails just got smaller and smaller, but apparently it only shows 8 or 9 screens at once, and then you have to scroll left and right to see more people. Speaker view, is it?
I had 30 in one meeting we did with the airplane club, and it would only show 8 or 9 in the window, and you had to scroll to see the rest of them. But maybe that was how he set it up. That was actually wasn't Zoom. It was Ring Central, powered by Zoom. So Zoom is licensing their video to other people as well. And then if with speaker view, it automatically switches the big screen to who is talking, but there is a pin option, so the host can pin a video to make that video always stay on top. So if I unpin me, Lyle spoke last, so that jumped him to big. Interesting, it's not jumping back to me because I'm talking. That's weird. So I will pin my video again. So now I'm big. Yay. The other interesting thing that's happening with video chatting is the orientation of the camera. So right now I'm looking right at the camera where the light is, and all of you are seeing me basically look out at you because I'm staring at the camera. But most people will look at their own picture, or they'll look at the person at the other end's picture. So now I'm looking down in the video that people are seeing because I'm looking at me in the video. I'm not looking at the camera. So there were a couple of different laptops that had the camera at the bottom, either the bottom of the screen or actually in the keyboard. So you would look down and you were looking into the camera at the bottom of the keyboard. But what was interesting is the position of the keyboard, the camera in the keyboard, you would look with the camera turned on. If you weren't looking down at the camera, you were looking. The camera was looking right up your nose. So that didn't work out too well. There was another website that I think I posted. I tried to just post Nick's list to our website. Let me look to see if I got it up there. Yeah, I did. And I also posted one. The Bleeping Computer did a list of free software and free services that are coming out for the coronavirus, and there's a lot of different software. Let me bring. I got to get back to OBS, and I'm going to bring the Safari window back up again. So there is a bunch of different software in different categories, not just video conferencing. 1Password has removed the trial limits. Adobe K through 12 are offering free access to their at-home apps. Affinity Design and Publishing is extending the 90-day trial and giving 50% discount. So there's a lot of different companies that are doing a lot of different types of services at a discount or free for a certain amount of time, and in response to the sort of the whole way people trying to work from home. We've also heard some interesting things coming from some of the companies where working from home is a novel idea for them, and a lot of companies are realizing that there's so much less overhead to have people work at home because they don't have to pay for office space and parking space and phones and things like that. What's sort of generally accepted is that every employee costs a business basically double the salary. So half is salary and half is overhead that employee costs. And if you can cut down on that, I remember when I was working at Kodak, they had that worked out to your floor space. So how much space your cubicle cost you, how much your phone cost per person, and they could tell how all that worked out. So by cutting down on a lot of that, we're hoping a lot more people are going to be able to work from home, semi-permanently, and now maybe only going to the office every couple of days instead of every day of the week. And as a Who was it? Twitter. Yeah, a lot of Twitter companies are going to stay at home. Yeah, yeah, a lot of employers have been very wary about people working from home because you can't see them at work doing things. Um, but if you assign tasks and then they get those tasks done, you're probably probably okay with them doing it. Um, and even if they're in the office, they're probably screwing off. In fact, what was that on? Was it Seinfeld? I think George had put some breadcrumbs on his keyboard and then left the window open. So pigeons came into the office and were pecking away at the breadcrumbs. And if anyone walked by his office, they heard the typing, just clackety, clackety, clack. And so it sounded like he was working, and he had made a little bed under his desk so he could take a nap. So that was kind of interesting. But yeah, a lot of companies are now realizing that work from home is viable. And because so many people are working from home and road traffic is down so much, pollution is down so much. There have been pictures have been posted of before and after shots of cities that have been known for their pollution and clog, congestion and smog. Animals are returning to areas where they've been usually scared off by the cars. So it's kind of an interesting side effect of people working from home. Yep. In fact, a lot of people who are driving are going too fast because there's fewer cars on the road. Yep. A lot of car insurance companies are offering rebates and to people who aren't driving as much. So they're giving you a discount on your next payment or rebating you money. We have Allstate, and we keep seeing the commercials that say they're doing that, but we haven't seen it yet. Yeah, weeks per gallon. Yeah. Now, what's kind of interesting for us personally is my business was considered essential, so I've actually been working more than usual. We're doing 10, 12-hour days trying to get all the computers through because all the Apple stores are closed. We are doing so many repairs for for people in other cities. We get people driving in from Syracuse, from Corning. Had a couple of people drive in from Pennsylvania. Yeah, I think it was Scranton. Someone drove in from the other day because all of the Apple stores are closed, and so we were the closest independent store that was open. So I've been driving just as much as usual and working as much. And since Shirley is retired, she still stays at home. She can't go out with her friends. Carol, she misses going out walking with you. Yeah, we'll do both, Carol. We should have a Carol off. Have all the Carols go walking. Yeah. Now Rick hasn't turned his camera on, so we'll wave to Rick and say hi. Oh, is he? Oh, I don't have the chat window open. Yep. Alrighty. Any questions so far about what we've done? Anyone want to see anything else? Yeah, Shirley, I can unmute Shirley. Come on, unmute. It won't unmute. Maybe you got to unmute it at your end. There we are. Well, one of the things that is when we were doing the board meeting, you had tried to do the virtual background and you couldn't find the option on your iPad. Yeah, what I'm afraid of is what happens because the virtual background is pretty graphic intensive. Um, Normally, when you do a virtual background, it's got to be green screen, so there's a color it can replace with everything else, um, and that's not as taxing for your video card. What Zoom is actually doing, in fact, you kind of can see it mess up if I move quickly. Um, Zoom is taking that background and removing all sorts of stuff. So if I turn the virtual background off, you can see the bookshelves and the window and whatnot. And so there's no consistent color back there. I can go to, let's go to San Francisco for a while. So I can turn that virtual background on, but you need a better video card to be able to handle that processing. And so I don't think your iPad mini has that capability. On other iPads, it does. On the newer, probably the newer iPad Pros, it may as well. I don't think my iPad Pro could. Yeah, and that's probably common in business type situations. Yeah. Probably not, because you got a pretty old computer. It may not have that option. Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to on my iPad Pro, but I have to mute me here because it's yeah. Where is it? Mute. Yeah, because my iPad is coming out. There's Rick. I gotta turn on. Oh, that's what I did wrong. I turned down the brightness. I want to turn up the brightness and turn down the volume. There we go. Yeah.